Senator Peterson for the floor on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise in opposition to this motion to override the governor's veto. You know, it's certainly an emotional time to live in Louisiana in 2022, where, you know, we do this process every 10 years. And I know that the majority of the legislature has acted and supported this instrument. However, I can't help but feel what some of my ancestors might have felt as slaves, and that they too weren't recognized by the Constitution, and the Constitution ignored the fact that they were human beings. They saw them as property, and they saw us not fully as people who could participate in a democratic process. Now, for me, I've been blessed. I've been able to have an education and have access to an education. I've been able to become a professional and be the best that I can be. I've had opportunities that are phenomenal, that other people in this community that I represent that have never had those opportunities. And I've had the blessed opportunity to be able to stand in this institution, in this chamber, and to come up here free, liberated, and independent and fight for those who can't afford to be here. But this Constitution, yeah, this federal Constitution, not state, I get the difference, quoting the chairman on the other side who made a point that we are Louisiana and this is not federal law. I happen to disagree that we do have to follow federal law. And what this bill represents is a violation of, yes, the U.S. Constitution. I don't feel human today. I don't feel seen. I don't feel equal at all. It's always Karen, the black woman from New Orleans. It's always the minority. It's always something that has to distinguish us. And the last quote from Chairman Hewitt was that we don't have to do proportional representation. So we don't even have to pay attention to you. Again, being ignored, just like my ancestors. Hundreds of years later, when is it that we will be seen? When is it that you can see people for who they are and what they represent and the talent that they bring and how they too have similar interests in representing people with common characteristics and demographics in their area? Will Asians and Latinos and Native Americans continue to have the same problem? Are we fearful that the demographics of this country are changing to not look like the majority, how it's looked in the past, those who created and the founders of this great nation? I know we are a young country. I know that democracy is being challenged all across the world. Look at what's happening in the Ukraine. But if we can't in Louisiana recognize the people that we sit across from every day as human beings and as valued as being represented in this body, it's really, really harmful to the work that we have to do. We all want the same things for our families. We all want to have, like Pavlov's needs, right? We all want to have approval, affection, support, recognition, needs met, self-confidence, all those basic things, those needs, we want them met. We want opportunity, education, healthcare, housing, food and shelter, basic things. We want those things, but when we don't have people that have a real understanding and the opportunity to elect people, that's all we're doing is asking for the opportunity to elect people, then it's not fair. And that's all I'm asking you, from a position of fundamental fairness, to not support a bill that doesn't support fundamental fairness. When the increase in population of African Americans in this state has increased, You choose to ignore that increase. You've blatantly chosen to ignore it and say, yeah, I know what you're saying, but in this instance, I got to do what some of the people in my district want me to do because of political purposes and ignore the law and what's right. Ignore the law and ignore what I know in my heart as a Christian is right for furtherance of political purposes. That saddens me. But even when this happens, because I'm going to be a bit presumptuous and tell you that you might override the veto, even when this happens in less than 5 minutes, it's not going to deter me, just like my ancestors were not deterred, to continue to make change right here in this institution. Because they had a much harder way to go. I told you my story. I didn't get beaten. I don't have any visible bruises. I don't walk over, hunched down. I walk and I stand proudly, representing the people of this state, Black people in particular today, saying that we may not overcome right now with this body who acts in a way. I'm not saying that anyone is a racist, but acts in a way through voting with a racial bias. Unquestionably. That vote is going to reflect a racial biasness, ignoring a significant population in this state. And you can't ignore it. And I'm going to still continue to fight for those people who just want to be seen and heard under the Constitution of this country and the Constitution of this state. And I beg and implore you to please see us today and vote no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Peterson.